Welcome back, boys and some girls. This is another turn-based RPG game, but it has some features I don't think I've seen before, or at least if I did, I've seen very little of. The subject will be this is a classic story about heroes, dragons, saving the world. The rest is spoilers, so watch it at your own risk, okay? The general idea is you are a nobody whose village got destroyed by dragons, and you are now escaping to the big nearby city to learn how to fight dragons and eventually defeat them all, aka saving the world. You gather up some friends that come with specific classes, 3 in total. Together you go fight the dragons, and the ending will depend on how you approach it and what decision you made throughout the story. The main plot centers around you fighting the immortal king dragon, and the rest you'll have to find out on your own. I don't want to completely reveal everything. Also, it's a choice story, so whatever you choose is going to be your story, maybe different than what I experienced. The story is fairly interesting, especially later on into the story. However, the storytelling can be a bit jarring and cringe from time to time. Your character will ask some question only to get a completely different answer, or even get a very detailed explanation for stuff that doesn't matter at all. In general, the base dialogue and random NPC talk is interesting. If you start diving into books and notes, it starts to be the normal background that oh no, his mother died, oh he fought everyone on his own, how brave, stuff like that. So in my opinion, stick to the normal dialogue. Even for the side stuff, it is pretty interesting. Now, even with me saying all of that, my main complaint is the illusion of choice. You're often given a multiple answer question or an event, but most of the results will lead to the same outcome, if not all of them. This is mostly for smaller stuff and the beginning of the story. Most of your decision will affect the very last mission, just like loyalty missions in Mass Effect. They seem pretty normal and unimportant, yet they will affect you greatly at the very end. I think the story will be much more enjoyable without those small fake choices. Just let us experience your interesting choice that has been crafted here, which is, by the way, very similar to Crimson Ranga, the anime, if you watched it. Overall, I like the story, even if the ending can be open-ended. Moving on to gameplay, it started out as a detailed elemental combat system with immunities, weaknesses, and just like in all other turn-based games, your picked effects if you will attack first, as well as how often you will attack. Each character has the usual RPG game options during a fight, like attack, ability, soul force, items, defend, and escape. Attack is just a very basic attack, the normal stuff. Ability is another name for skills. Soul force is the same as skills, just different skills, and they don't cost mana. Items are just consumables you can use. Defense basically make you take 50% less damage next turn, and escape lets you run away from battle, but it doesn't work during important missions, obviously. Combat is a very simple hit and heal, not much thought needed unless you want to do some extreme things. The game suggests that you use certain skills and spells against different enemies, yet it doesn't matter because the game is extremely unbalanced and hit you with a crazy difficulty spike. One moment you fight a regular mob that one-shot you the second you leave the starting city. After you defeat that, you get to fight the same goblins from the tutorial that you can easily defeat. All of that is followed by some crazy bosses that have insane amount of HP that you cannot see because health bar are not shown 99% of the fights. I don't know why. All of that just leads to you sitting there, hitting the boss, healing yourself until it's dead. Also, most of the bosses are immune to every effect, like burning, bleeding, poison, whatever you want. They're all immune to it, which makes the battle take even longer then. You will definitely feel this around the 50% mark of the game, in my opinion. That's where I felt it. What I do like about the combat is just like Pathfinder and similar games, you get points that you can use to develop certain classes that will eventually give you some skills and passive, making you create totally random classes with skills that you want for each character in your party. There are some confusing terms in the game, so I will briefly explain. Skills, sparks, awakening, traits, and passives. Skills are just basically like any other games. Sparks are modification for your skills, for example, a buff to yourself, a debuff to the enemy, less MP cost, more damage, stuff like that. Awakening is a very similar thing, just like sparks. However, they don't cost a spark slot, and they come whenever you use the skill a bunch of time, level up, and they give you most of the time a bigger upgrade than just sparks. Let's say spark is 15%, then awaken is 60%. It's just a random number. It's not exactly like this, but that's the main point. Traits are replaceable passives that you get when you upgrade some skills. I will explain in a second. But basically you can get 5 or 6 if I'm not wrong, and you can replace it to make whatever build you want. Passives are exactly like any other game. You level up, you get a passive, it's a permanent buff on your character. That's it, not much thought needed. Now, sparks and traits you get for leveling up skills. Basically, every time you level up a skill, you get to choose from 3 options, and you cannot change it, so you need to think wisely. We also have equipment, which divides into weapon, helmet, shirt, boots, and 2 accessory slots. Throughout the game, you can get an increasing level of mineral, cloth, fabric, and a few more stuff that will help you craft a variety of equipment for each class. To unlock all the recipes, you will have to play the game and find them during your mission and exploration. To get the best possible equipment, you will have to max out your smithing skill, which leads me to my next point. Besides abilities and whatever I just spoke about before, you also have random skills like dexterity, stamina, listening, observation, and a bunch more. Those skills improve as you pass skill checks, or if you use skills in battle with the modification that relates to that aspect. For example, let's say you have the speed increase buff or as a modifier on a random skill. Every time you use this skill in a battle, you gain some dexterity EXP. It is a very small amount, but it is a way to train them if you want to. You also have skills like alchemy, cooking, that lets you combine materials to create meals, materials, and potions. Everything is based on trial and error. Now, something I haven't seen in many games before is a very cool feature where you can use items from your inventory while in certain maps to trigger some events or make new ways and shortcuts. You just stand on a tile and open your inventory, use the selected item. There are a lot of hidden treasures all throughout the game that you can find using notes or brute force if you're bored enough. You can do that. Another cool feature is that during some story moments, you will get a small surprise quiz that tests you if you were actually listening this whole time. It will go like this. You experience a long cutscene followed by an open-ended question and will be asked to type the answer with your keyboard. A lot of the time the answer will be from a book in your inventory, but toward the end of the game, the answer will have to come from you. No hints. The visuals are pretty meh. It is a drawn style. Some of the characters look very strange, like they were created by a kid or an AI, especially the main character, they look the weirdest. Funny enough, some of the side characters look better drawn than the main ones, but it doesn't matter as much because you won't see them too much anyway, just their avatar. Basically, I'm saying don't come here for the graphics, okay? The whole environment is pretty depressing. The colors are very dark, but it does make sense if you listen to the story. The world is pretty grim after all, so again, it matches. For performance, I really didn't have any problems with anything until 20 hours in, where the UI started glitching and forced me to close the game. Since then, I had a bunch of time where the game completely froze and I had to close it via Steam and relaunch, as well as time with the menu overlaid in combat if you press cancel too fast, resulting in, again, the need to close the game and reopen. I also played on controller for most of the time, and after some battles, the inputs wouldn't be read from the game, so you had to relaunch the game again to make the controller work again. And for your knowledge, I have an i9 and a 3080. And that's it. The game is fun, it's cheap, $20. Definitely has some problems. I listed them during the review. My main problem are the repetitiveness of the combat and some of the quality of life stuff that will save a player an hour of just sitting there and pressing the button just to pass a skill check in some story related moment. The game is pretty good. I like especially using items from your inventory in random places to find some hidden treasure and events, whatever, and also to get the small surprise test to actually make sure you're listening to the story. I really like those. I would also recommend the game if you have the money for it and if you like story-rich turn-based RPG game like this. But be prepared to spend some time. It's not a long game, but it's not a short game. Took me about 26 hours, which probably be about 30 hours if I hadn't lost my 25 hours save, which made me replay the game again, meaning I had more knowledge of the game, which ended it with me completing the game faster. For me, the game is an 8 out of 10. If you like this kind of turn-based combat, go for it. Now, I would like to ask you what you think about like the fake illusion of choice in game like this. Just, I don't usually do it, but actually write down. It is interesting to me. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, thank you. If you didn't, what, like 10 minutes video, something like this? Keep us safe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.